Well, this is going to be a fun one. Issac Cain here, guys, and I'm going to be revisiting the scaffold match between Shane Williams and myself from 2009. Just like last deal, I'm going to be doing the commentary on this. Isn't going to be like commentating in the moment. This is going to be kind of like the commentary you would hear on a movie track. So I'm going to try and give some in-depth look in kind of how this match came to be. So the scaffold match was partly Shane Williams' idea because he had said that it hadn't been done in this area in such a long time that he couldn't even remember when it had been done, and that it would just be such a spectacle to see it. And then that's part of it right there, is just the spectacle of the fans walking in and seeing this structure. I don't think any other show around here has ever done it. I do remember whenever I was younger, you can see Shane Williams in the back already laying fist on me on the outside of the ring. I do remember when I was younger, they had some wrestling at the Sevier County Fairground, and they had teased that they were going to do a scaffold match, and it never happened. So for me, it was cool to be a part of something totally different, totally new at the time. Not new, but it just hadn't been done in this area. And I remember the build up to this because Shane and I had went up against each other at Black Harvest 3, I think it was. Yeah, it was Black Harvest 3. And we set up for the scaffold match the very next week after Black Harvest 3. And in constructing this scaffold, because I was one of the people who put it together, it just became this kind of very scary realization on what I was getting myself into. And you set up one, and then you set up another one, and then you're standing in the ring, and it's high up. Don't get me wrong, but if you're sitting out in the crowd, so you're sitting down and you're looking up at it, it looks even higher than than it is. It's that illusion, and it was very scary. I mean, we had to attach each tower to the ring because it was on this concrete floor. So if you hit the tower would move. So we were, we had to actually attach the tower to the ring. And I never really thought that I had a fear of heights. It wasn't really something that I was consciously aware of, but once I got up there, I was definitely afraid. There was no doubt about it, because I had climbed it just a little bit before the fans had came in, just to see what it would be like, and it was sketchy. It was sketchy as hell. I'm just gonna pop in from time to time, kind of give some insight into what this match was. Because there's a few other things that happened in this match that we tried to do to kind of keep it fresh. So one thing is we didn't make it to where whoever wins the match is the person who knocks someone off the scaffold. That's not how we wanted to do it. We wanted to do it like it's still pinfall and submission. You can still win via pinfall and submission, It's just the whole concept of, the pinfall and the submission doesn't occur until after both opponents have, battled on top of the scaffold. And then, yeah, it was scary. It was very scary. It was very intimidating. God, this was so long ago. As you see, we haven't even the feud that Shane and I had that lasted like a year and a half was a fight, a brawl. So we didn't even the whole beginning, the first 5-6 minutes of the match doesn't even take place inside of the ring. It takes place on the outside of the ring because we wanted to make it a fight and a brawl. And then chances are I was probably bleeding by this time. Shane is a very... whenever Shane is this version of King Shane, which is the hated version, the evil Shane Williams, it takes a toll on your body working with him. He's very... how do they say it? He doesn't pull any of his punches. Everything hurts. Yeah. It's weird to look back at these shows inside of the National Guard Armory, because for so long the shows only took place in armories, and something's happened over the past a few years where it's transitioned to rec centers, and then of course KFW takes place at an actual conference center now right off the main parkway. So to me, that's that's definitely moving on up. I mean I'm not gonna say I didn't like the Armory. The Armory was our our second home. Our first home was actually the Triple C Dance Barn, so this was our second home. And it's just there was no air conditioning inside of these buildings, so it would get so swelteringly hot, and you're just sweating profusely. Even as fans, I would see fans sweating profusely while sitting in the crowd. So this was this match kick-started the let's say about 2 years of KFW having scaffold matches and then transitioning to actual Elevation X matches. So we had 4 it's ridiculous to think of. We had 4 towers and then 2 walkways making an X with a title hanging, and you could shimmy across the walkways, and yeah, it was pretty wild. Once we realized that this was doable, that you could actually do this, then the race was on. We were wanting to do all kinds of different concepts. This is actually, I always had a fear of getting superplex. I didn't really like it, and then got so used to it, it ended up being one of my patented maneuvers. I loved pulling off a superplex. It was one of my favorite moves to actually do. Not necessarily one of my favorite ones to take. So preceding this, Shane and I had a very emotional steel cage match. Probably, I don't know, like 6 months before this. Shane and I had 2 very distinct, different feuds as it pertains to singles feuds. The one whenever we first started, and then another one around 2009, which was this time period, and then that feud kind of reignited again whenever Team Nashville, the entire Team Nashville thing. So. Which will, we'll probably get into some of the Team Nashville stuff at some point. It's, the idea of doing some of these, because they're in my computer system now, is it's 2018, so save these. I don't know if they're going to be on DVDs now or if it's going to be on something later on. But to kind of give this insight into some of the matches that I took place in, and then hopefully get some of the other guys to do, something similar. My face paint that I did at this time was kind of a combination of a few different face paints. It was so it was Otis from House of a Thousand Corpses was one of them, Sting, Vampiro, and then just adding a few tweaks on the designs myself. This wasn't even during the skull makeup phase. This was way before that. But I began to incorporate some of the skull makeup, like around the lips and stuff like that. A lot of Shane and I's matches were brawls and fights, and I can't remember. Are we gonna? I can't remember how early on in this contest it was whenever we finally decided to go up that scaffolding system. But the idea was to kind of tease it as much as possible before we do it. Because we didn't want it, once you go up the scaffold, there's not really much more you can do except fight on it a little bit or fall off of it. So once you're up there, once you're on it, that's it. Like, there's only two ways to do it. Now, there was a scaffold match that I had after this with Overkill where we added another level, another platform. As you can see, like in the center of the scaffolding, there's like a metal platform, but we added another platform that's it was even with kind of the rope, the top rope. So we actually did some stuff off of that platform. So we did some stuff like at the bottom of the scaffold, then some stuff on the first platform, then some stuff on the top platform, and then went on the actual walkway. I wanted to make it like Dante's Inferno. It's like there's different levels that you go through in a scaffold match. Because it is kind of, once you get on the scaffold, it is a very one-dimensional situation. Ooh! I forgot about that. Okay, so Shane Williams just threw a fireball in my face. I remember that being very painful. It definitely took out my eyebrows. Definitely took out my eyebrows. Oh, I'm getting a call. They can wait. Matches with Shane were always so very physical. It's kind of like matches with Shane and Chase You always walk away with knots on your head, or definitely bruises. Shane's character has, or Shane himself, has evolved so much in the past few years, like over, the past 10 years. He's evolved so much and grown, like, as a character. But even at this time, he was always very aware of, like catchphrases, things that you can say and do in each contest that separate you from everybody else. As I see, Shane Williams is actually climbing the scaffold at this point. But he was always very aware of just kind of branding yourself and creating a character that people don't forget. And he was the catalyst to, like, me, like, painting my face and just kind of my character evolving. It's really hard, especially for wrestlers today, because today it's all about it's all about just the wrestling. You're seeing character type stuff kind of fall to the wayside, but and that makes it really hard for people if they have to reinvent themselves, because if you don't have any concept of what a character is, then how can you reinvent yourself? And Shane has reinvented himself multiple times. I've done it before. Some of the best wrestlers in the world are, people who can totally reinvent themselves. And Shane Williams has always been very good at having these certain eras of his character that are different but yet the same. So it's always familiar, but it also always feels new. So he's very good at that, and he's very good at collaborating when it comes to trying to come up with concepts and things to do and making things different. I always wanted my character to be on the darker side, a little bit more demented, so whenever it came to stuff like me coming out of the casket and having the multiple Issacs surrounding the ring in the build up to this match in particular, and Black Harvest, that was all like, that's stuff that I wanted to do, and you always think, like, how can I do that stuff? And then it's and then someone like Shane just kind of looks at you and goes, you're a mainstay here. You can do you can do whatever the hell you want to do, and then it just becomes just doing it. It's kind of like the scaffold match here. There's some promoters or some places that might not want to do it because they may see it as a headache or too much of a hassle. But it's like, you want to create moments for your fan base, so you do it. Arguably so, this was also a time whenever wrestling matches went, or at least matches like this, were much longer. So you'll notice the difference between a match like this and a match that might take place today, where this one may be like 15, 20 minutes longer than your average wrestling match. But again, it's a scaffold match, so it's and then also you've seen, like, we've teased the scaffold 2 or 3 times, and that's something we wanted to do. By the time we got on top of that scaffold, we wanted people to be just, salivating at the fact that it's finally going to happen. There was a lot of animosity between Shane and wrestlers like myself at the time. Guys like Shane and Chase at the time didn't like wrestlers who weren't, who didn't take themselves serious, or maybe who weren't built a certain way, or who just didn't take the business serious to an extent. I would catch the brunt of that sometimes, but sometimes not, because I was always, myself and Derek and a handful of others were always kind of in the front line, ready to kind of put our bodies on the line for the sake of the story, or the sake of, of the contest. And a guy like Shane, will give you as much as you give. So if you're trying to tell a story or build an angle here, it's not necessarily about the match. It's about, how much creativity do you put into leading up to this. So here we go, teasing the scaffold again. Looks like a back suplex. Oh. I mean, listen, it's painful enough taking moves off the top rope. Like, normal moves like superplexes and stuff. But back suplexes are so very dangerous. Like, back suplexes and German suplexes are so very dangerous anyways, because if you land on your neck incorrectly, that could be a bad day or a bad life. But coming off the top rope with stuff like that is exceptionally dangerous. Looks like he's going to set up for his pile driver. And then it's, a contest like this, there's no disqualification. So if I want to give him a low blow, listen, he had put me through enough hell leading up to this. If I want to kick him in the nuts or whatever, I think I'm justified in doing so. See, even now, we got the barbed wire baseball bat. I was coming out with this. Well, it wasn't even like a barbed wire baseball bat. It was like a barbed wire 2x4, And Shane Williams was constantly running from this at every single event. And that's the catalyst for what leads us up to the scaffold finally. I mean, again, that was something that was told over the course of months, though. Of every time I would come out of the casket, I would have this barbed wire 2x4, and he would want to fight, but the second that I pulled out that barbed wire 2x4, he would run. So it all connected here in the fans' minds whenever I finally pulled that out. He didn't want no part of that. So that's what finally led him up the scaffold. And here we go. I mean, this walkway was like maybe 2 feet wide. This was very narrow. So Shane didn't want to walk on this thing. I didn't want to walk on it. If it would have been wider, I probably would have walked on it, but it wasn't. It was very narrow. So the idea was to get up there. Listen, it's a scaffold match. If I just get up there and I start walking like it's no big deal, then how does that sell the scaffold? How does that sell it? And it doesn't. This is scary. So I'm going to play it like it's scary, because it is scary. It's a scary situation whenever you're up like 20 feet above the ring and you're throwing fists at each other. It's not an easy thing to do. It's very wobbly. It's dangerous. Even the simple thing of like hitting someone is sketchy. It just feels sketchy. Shane Williams didn't care. He was just punching me as hard as he could in my jaw. I remember him catching me in the jaw really hard. I was like, this is not the time that I need to get knocked out from one of his punches, which happened multiple times. Getting knocked out by him or Chase was a normal occurrence, but this would not have been the time to get knocked out. Yeah, this was scary. This was a scary situation. Another thing about this was lighting this. Having the lights on it shining up created this huge, ominous, shadowy structure on top of the actual structure itself, and made it seem kind of creepy. It just kind of had an eerie vibe. There's also the whole thing of like, well, what if the whole thing just comes crumbling down? Headbutts, yeah, that's right, headbutts. That'll work. This is where things get, get even more sketchy, because we didn't, there was, I got up on the scaffold earlier on, but I did not go out onto that walkway, because I was like, I don't want to freak myself out. If I get on that walkway, it's going to be the one and last time that I get on it. Shane here, that's a sketchy situation there. That's scary. Yeah, made a lot of really dumb decisions. Did a lot of stupid things. That's the nature of it here. So the idea is I obviously want to get Shane Williams to fall. If I'm not mistaken, I think he lands like on his legs or something. Oh. Yeah, that's not good. The first of many back injuries. First of many back injuries that I had. And this was whenever Shane's leg was hurt, my back was hurt, and I was too messed up to even make a cover at that point, I think. Because I do remember, because it's been such a long time ago, that we did have an ambulance there, just in case anything went wrong. Yeah, and there it is. That's what they had put me on the gurney. And put me in the back of the ambulance. Because they were thinking that I had injured my lower back, which I did. I had, it was definitely a lower back injury. But, you know, whenever your adrenaline is pumping, it's hard to feel that stuff. It's hard to feel that pain whenever your adrenaline is pumping like that. And that can, that'll explain kind of what happens here next here. What a cool moment. Coming back out of the ambulance there, and coming through the crowd. It was kind of that old Terry Funk thing, you know, you're injured but you don't care. The match hasn't ended yet. There wasn't a finish to the match, and Shane Williams' leg is injured at this point. So I'm just wailing on him with the chair, because at this point anything goes. You don't understand the battles that he and I went through leading up to all this. It was so, I had so much pent up anger. It was just, and knowing that his leg is injured, slapping on a figure four is definitely, and yeah, see, there he goes, he's tapping out. Yeah, that was it there. And you can still see I'm holding my back. Well, this was cool. This was cool, kind of getting to revisit this, and I'm doing a lot of these because just to have them in the bag. So I hope you guys enjoy a little bit of an in-depth look at some of these really cool matches, and we'll see you next time.
Fondest memories of KFW wrestling? Definitely, I know one of them is definitely a scaffold match. There's nothing like dangling 20 feet above a wrestling ring, trying to scrape and claw and hold on for your life. Another one I'll never forget, definitely the grocery store match, where all the fans could buy all their groceries. Man, I think I got hit by at least 50 dozen eggs that night. Definitely can't forget those parking lot brawl matches, where fans brought the weapons, and then me and Chase Stevens. Never forget Team Nashville. Man, the memories go on and on and on.
In 2018, KFW made its way to the Milton Roberts Rec Center in Knoxville, Tennessee, with one of the most dangerous contests in KFW history, a Fans Bring the Weapons parking lot brawl steel cage match with the Saints versus Tristan Ramsey and Keith Knox. As the fight spilled outside of the cage and insanity continued, the rest of the KFW faithful watched as one of the most dangerous moments took place. The rest of the KFW roster tried to come out and break this fight up and out of nowhere from on top of the building at the Milton Roberts Rec Center, you could see Wayne Moxie. And in a defiant, insane moment, Wayne Moxie leaped off of the top of the Milton Roberts Rec Center in what could have been the most dangerous moment in KFW history.
The savior of professional wrestling, right? I think you're more of the ass of professional wrestling. Shut up, asshole! This one's for you, buddy. This one's for you. Come on, Sam. Come on, time.